Hello and welcome. My name's Angie Holden and I'm the blogger behind the Country Chic Cottage. Today I'm going to show you the HTVRont hat press. We're going to use it for some projects. I'm going to give you my review and I'll also be comparing it to the Cricut Hat Press since it is similar in design. So first let's take a look at the HTVRont hat press and everything that comes with it. Then let's use this press to make a few hats. So the hat press itself comes like this, and then you get a cover that goes along with it, and I'll show you how to use this. There is a bag for storage as well as a user manual for operation. Now you just open this, it has a little clip on both sides, lift it up, and this is the actual press on the inside. So the press as well as the base it can sit on. I do like that you can wrap this cord around the handle and it stays put. It is a nice addition to the press itself. And then you can see the color I got here. And then the plastic cover that you just took off here, you take it and you add this padded cover to it. There are elastic bands on both sides and you just wrap those around where that clamp was. And that holds that padded cover right on top. This now becomes the hat form that you use when pressing. Now that this form is on, I can put this over the top and I can clamp these down on both sides. And now this is a single piece for storage. I love the design for this fact alone. It's very easy to store all in one piece. I don't have separate pieces that I need to store in my craft room. So now let's take a look at the buttons and how you use the HTVRont hat press. Press the power button to turn it on and the display will light up. Now you can set both the time and the temperature directly on this press. We're just going to press the little settings button and we can increase the temperature, press settings again, and you can increase or decrease the time. So the plus and minus increases and decreases, and the settings button goes to the temperature as well as the time. So once we've set those, we'll allow the press to heat up. And once it's heated up, a long press on the power button will start your time countdown. Short press on it will stop that countdown, and short press again will turn it off. So short press for on and off, long press to start your countdown. The HTVRont hat press does get hot enough for sublimation, so the first hat we're gonna make is a sublimation hat. I have this heating up to 385 degrees and I have it set for 55 seconds. First, we're going to take our hat and put it on the form. You want to remove anything that's inside the hat first. The hat goes on the form a little bit differently if you have something like the Cricut Hat Press. It goes on from the side. So you're going to work it on from the side of the form and just get it to where it is tight on the form itself. This is what it should look like, built up, but this plastic part against your table, and that is on the form correctly. Then we're just going to proceed for sublimation. So first I want to preheat the area. Then I'm going to lint roll. And I'm going to add the sublimation print to the hat. Tape it down with some heat resistant tape. Cover it with a sheet of protective paper. And then you'll want to heat your design. Now, something I do want to say is that this hat press is not very wide. So if you have a large design, you may want to move it back and forth as you're heating. So what I'm going to do is put the hat press on the hat, and then I'm going to long press the power button to start the countdown. And I'm going to move this back and forth across the area where my sublimation print is. You can even add some extra time here if you think that you're not going to be able to get, if you have a very large design and you're not going to be able to get it all evenly, you can add some time to the standard time that you usually use for something like this. So I'm just pressing down. I find that the buttons on top, I press down with my hand in the center here. I find that a bit easier. If I press down on the top, I feel like I hit the buttons as I'm pressing down. So I press down with my hand through that center piece on the handle. When it's done, you'll hear that beep, and we can move it to that stand. I'm gonna kind of lift this, peek underneath, make sure I got a full sublimation, It actually looks really good, so I am going to leave it like that. If I did not think I got a full sublimation, I could put this back down as long as I didn't move anything, and I could press for a second time. I want to make a few different projects. This time I'm going to add HTV to a bucket hat. So I'm going to decide sort of what the front of the bucket hat is, and I'm going to make sure the front is on top and just slide it over my form just like I did previously. The front should be on top and fairly tight, and you may also want to make sure when you're doing this to flip any bill of the hat, and this includes the other hats that I just did. Flip any bill out so you get a very flat surface here on the front. And I'm going to preheat this just a little bit, and I did adjust the time and the temperature on the hat press so it's right for the HTV that I'm using. I'm just going to flip this around, and I'm going to add this HTV to the hat. And when I'm doing something like this, I like to go ahead and tape it down with some heat resistant tape. That way it won't move on me as I'm trying to get it to stick. You can also add some protective paper over the top, or even like a Teflon sheet. And then I'm going to press this in sections. I'm going to do one section and then the next. So I'm going to do the top first, long press on the power button, allow it to count down. Again, I kind of like my hand inside here for pressing down rather than on the top. Once that beeps, I'm going to move it, long press again, and repeat the pressing towards the bottom of that HTV design. Once that's done for the second time, we'll pick that up. This is a cool peel HTV, so I'm going to just run a cooling block over it. And as I'm doing that, I'm pressing down, just trying to get that to stick to that hat as it cools. Then start from one side, see if the protective sheet is lifting up, leaving the HTV on the hat. If it is, we can go ahead and peel this back. If not, you can replace and press again. So if it's done, peel it back. If it's not, just press again. Once it's ready, just peel back the carrier sheet from the HTV, and this one is complete. I must say it did a great job with HTV. Finally, I wanted to do a hat with a DTF transfer just because it would be a lower time and temperature. I just wanted to show like sort of the versatility of this hat press, that you can do any temperature. So I've turned the temperature and the time down. Going to add the hat to the form in the same way. Once again, like, be sure that bill is out. Once everything's tight on there, I'm going to preheat a little bit. Then I'm just going to add my DTF transfer. Again, add some heat tape to hold that into place. And I'm just going to press. Now this is like a long, skinny transfer, so I'm going to do it all at one time. And I'm just going to press down, and this is a quick 10-second transfer. So I'm just going to kind of hold on the sides, press down well. Once that's over, we'll lift up, and I'm going to use a DTF cooling block to cool that off a little bit. Then we can just start peeling back that carrier sheet. If it's not stuck, again, replace the carrier sheet and repress. Now for this, a post press is recommended. So I'm just going to kind of put a pressing cloth over this and repress for about 5 seconds. And then peel that back. And now this DTF hat is complete. All the hats I made look amazing. This is the Sublimation hat, and this was like a rustic vintage type print, and I love the way this print looks on this hat. Then I did the HTV hat. Again, this is on here great, no issues at all. Then I went with a DTF print on my last hat, and again, this looks great. So no matter what product you're using to put on hats, whether it be sublimation, HTV, DTF, even patches, you could make those using the HTVRont hat press. So now you've seen the HTVRont hat press in action, making a variety of hats. So let's talk about, first of all, the pros and cons of the HTVRont hat press. I love that it has adjustable time and temperature, and it's very easy to use, very easy to set up. Like, all I did was plug it in. As I said before, I love that when I put this on here, cord all curled up, that it's just sort of one piece to store. It's probably one of my favorite features. The entire thing was super simple to use, so it was easy to put my hat onto the form, and it was easy to use with the press. I think a wide variety of sizes of hats would work on this form. I used a couple of different versions within this video. However, if you even had like kids hats, I think you can make them work with this form by either loosening or either undoing like the thing in the back for a kid's cap would easily make it fit on this form. So I do think it is a good solution for a wide variety of sizes of hats as well. Now for the cons, it is not very wide. I would like it to be a little bit wider so I could cover more of an area. I'm not particularly wild about the buttons on top. I said I had to press like in the center here because every time I pressed on the top, I would hit one of the buttons and the timer would start over. So I did not particularly like the location of the buttons. However, putting my hand inside and pressing down worked fine. I just have to get used to that. The form itself, I felt like it wasn't tight all the time down onto both the plastic piece that it goes down on as well as the hat. So it felt a little bit loose. However, that didn't really affect any of my results. So I don't think it was a factor. However, I found myself trying to tighten the hat down, get it in a position where it was tighter. I was just constantly fooling with it, trying to get it tighter onto the hat form itself. And then just a general con of a hat press is that it's fairly limiting. It's basically for hats. It would have to be something that is specifically this round of a surface for this particular press to work on anything else beside hats. So it is very limiting as a press in general, but that's any hat press. So now let's talk about this versus the Cricut Hat Press. So this is less expensive than the Cricut Hat Press. Now what are some of the differences? This one is slightly smaller in width. However, this one you can set the time and temperature right on the press itself. The Cricut Hat Press, you can set a time and temperature, but you have to have an app on your phone and connect the two. Also, the big factor, this hat form is made out of polyester and cotton and a high temperature sponge inside. The Cricut hat form is made of walnut, so it has walnuts on the interior. That has raised a lot of concern among the crafting community for people with allergies and nut allergies, and like if you use the hat press to make something, could someone that wears that hat have an allergic reaction? This hat press eliminates that concern. So I will say, if you are looking at the Cricut Hat Press versus the HTVRont Hat Press, they both work great. They both work amazingly well for what they're intended to do, and that is to make hats. However, with this HTVRont version, you won't have to worry about any of the allergy concerns with the hat form. And you can set the time and temperature right on the press rather than an external app like you have to do with that Cricut Hat Press version. So I would say, like, if any of those things concern you, needing to use the app with the Cricut version, or the fact that the form on the Cricut version has nuts in it, then I would hands down go with this HTVRont Hat Press. Easy to use, small, compact, it all fits together. I would allow this to cool down before you put this plastic piece back on here. However, it all fits together nicely, easy for storage. This cord wraps around the handle. Really, really great compact design for storage reasons. Works great. It's just slightly smaller, and you'll just probably have to get used to a few of the things like putting the hat on the hat form and probably pressing with your hand on the inside, or concentrating on not hitting those buttons if you are pressing from the top. Otherwise, this is a really great hat press and perfect for those of you that are looking for a budget-friendly hat press that you can use in your craft room. So now, if you have any questions about the HTVRont Hat Press, drop down in the comment section, ask away. If you liked this video and it helped you, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have videos just like this one every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.